Lynn's birthday.
Yeah, no.
Zoma Gonzalez.
Let's
Looks like it's all yours.
A wonderful, what is it? Thursday, a thankful Thursday to each and every one of only one of us. I am so glad to be here. Have no idea. Listen, this is one of those days when the course I'm hearing it. I don't have to worry about what to say or what to do because he who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever he wishes, knowing he goes there with me. That means I don't have to be nervous about this. I don't have to, I'm not going into any place. I'm not going any place today. Anyway, uh so for weeks now, since the middle of November, we have been talking about A Course in Miracles meets Science of Mind. And today decided what I was attempting to do was to do the miracle principles. And as I'm reading through some, I'm like, okay, nope, I can't work with this. Nope, this isn't, nope. All right, I'm not even gonna try to force something that I can't, because that wouldn't be the Holy Spirit working. That would be me trying to do the ego's job, going in with the ego thought system and attempting to try to coerce and force and just make words sound good where they don't. So I'm not going to do all that. I'm going to share my screen right from the beginning, and we're doing this. A reminder every week to mind your mind. Anything in the text, purple text is always from Science of Mind, blue text is always from the course. Mind your mind. Dr. Ernest Holmes teaches us that to learn how to think is to learn how to live. And of course, the Miracles teaches that an untrained mind can accomplish nothing. And we're reminded that this, like other mental sciences or courses, of course, in mind training, that all learning involves attention and study at some level. Key factors, key factors. And I was, reaching around, looking, found some things in Science of Mind text that grabbed my attention. And I like this. God speaks and it is done. If God speaks, his word must be law. The word of God is also the law of God. God is word, God is law, God is spirit. And this is self-evident. God is word. And we see in the course, we talk about the law of God, and it's with a capital L. There are no laws but God's. I believe that's workbook lesson 27. I could be wrong about that. It doesn't matter. Anyway, but there are no laws but God's. For us to attempt to try to go steer in one direction or another, and like, oh, I've got this. Yeah, God, you go and stay over there. You go and stay over there, as if God is like a person that could just go hang out in the corner, go stay in the corner. Now, the only problem that we have is the belief in the lack of separation. That's the only problem, the belief in a lack of separation from God. We can never, ever, ever be separate from our source. It's impossible. Whether we're in the body, whether we're not in the body, the source, I mean, where is it going to go? Where is this energy that Einstein talks about? Where's it going to go? We call it energy, call it God, call it spirit, call it life, call it truth, call it whatever you want, because it doesn't care. So that was one of those things that just jumped at me, and I figured I would share it. All right. So I am going to talk about a couple of the miracle principles today, and I'm hoping for some back and forth here, because I assure you, I don't have an hour and a half's worth of material, but I will read from the textbook if I have to. Not a problem. Um, and see, we never know what anything is for. See, I think, we think that, oh, it's going to go like this, and so and so is going to be there, and so is going to be there, and we know that last week there were quite a few people here. There was a lot of discussion. Audrey was here, and McKaylee was here, and and I see Sharon in the room. I'm thankful for that. I know Lori may be listening. I don't know how close you are to the mic. If so, Lori, by all means, at any point in time, feel free to chime in the Pal Talk room. Let's see what's going on in the Pal Talk room. In the Pal Talk room, I see Carrie. I see someone called Mikey. And I see Grismer and Glorian. Hello, Glorian. Mwah. Love you. And of course, Dove and Lynn. Um, for those who are in the Zoom room, Trisha, your first time here, um, we have a Pal Talk, which is just audio, strictly audio. So there are people that are listening in and aren't necessarily here. And I'm trusting that I will say something that'll grab somebody's attention that'll want to come from the Pal Talk room to the Zoom room. Yeah, Lynn, I'm talking about you. I mean, Gloria, I'm talking about you right now. Uh, I was reading um, I was reading actually from an introductory book on the infinite way. That's Joe Goldsmith's work. I was reading and learned some interesting things. So there was always a question for me because I read Ernest Holmes, his work, and I read Joe Goldsmith's work, and I'm hearing the same message. I mean, the same message. And so I Googled Ernest Holmes and Joe Goldsmith to find out if these two knew each other. There's no evidence of these two gentlemen ever having met. Doesn't mean they didn't, but there's no evidence, based on what the World Wide Web has given me. There's no evidence that these two gentlemen have ever met. However, they did have things in common. The last one is the one that I found found yesterday, and it like wowed me. The first is they were both friends with Emmett Fox. Emmett Fox is the person who came up with the term mental equivalent, which I see quite often. In fact, it's a chapter titled Mental Equivalent in the Science of Mind textbook. That term mental equivalent. Emmett Fox says, change your mind and keep it changed. That's the one sentence from Emmett Fox's work in his book titled Mental Equivalent that grabbed me. A lot of people have read Sermon on the Mount and other works of his, but that's the one. Mental Equivalent is the one work of his that I read and have read more than once. And he says, change your mind and keep it changed. I love that. So they both were friends with Emmett Fox. They both had they were both connected to the Serenity Prayer. Both of them had a connection with the Serenity Prayer. In fact, Dr. Ernest, I believe it's mentioned in the textbook. I'm not certain of that. I think I read that. I didn't check to see if that was true. But the Serenity Prayer, they both were very familiar with the gentleman who wrote that Serenity Prayer used in the 12-step programs. As far as Dr. Bill W., the founder of AA, he too may have dabbled, as I understand, in the religious science. The Serenity Prayer was based on the science of mind, the religious science work. The third thing that I found out yesterday is that both Ernest Holmes and Joe Goldsmith were involved with Christian Science. Both of them studied under Mary Baker Eddy at some point. In fact, Dr. Ernest's license as a practitioner was under Christian Science, and he was a devout follower of Christian Science. I'm speaking for Ernest Holmes now. I can't speak for Joe Goldsmith. I'll have to look into that a little bit more. But Joe Goldsmith was actually a practitioner for several years. But Ernest Holmes was a devout student of Christian Science until he read a work by a gentleman named Christian D. Larson called The Ideal Made Real. And it was the first book on the mental sciences that Ernest Holmes wrote that then gave him the willingness to shift from the traditional Christian Science into what came to be called religious science, what we now call science of mind. Okay, history. That was it. That was it for the history. But I was quite surprised to know that. I wasn't aware that they were both involved in Christian Science. But I'm totally fascinated by the work of Joel Goldsmith, primarily because everything I read by him, I understand clearly. I understand, I understand very, 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 very clearly, and I love it. So I'm going to talk about a few of the miracle principles, but I'm going to focus primarily on one. This is not it, but miracle principle number 8. We have already looked at 1 through 7. A miracle principle number 8 of A Course in Miracles teaches that miracles are healing because they supply a lack. They are performed by those who temporarily have more for those who temporarily have less. Sharon, I would love to hear some feedback from you on this one. I was listening to uh, what was going on, before I came in, that hour of power, and oh, how powerful it was. I came in on the last half hour of it. I was like, wow, wow. Um, Sharon, it's interesting. I'm presuming you can hear me, and if not, well, you can listen to this recording later. Um, having heard you since 2006 and hearing you now, I hear such a conviction, such a power, such a revelational teaching coming from you. It's just blowing me away, and I love it. I love it. I can listen to you. I would love to hear you do a segment actually for a while. But anyway, um, miracles are healing because they supply a lack. And that's actually an assumed lack, because the truth is that there is nothing lacking. The Course teaches that we have everything and that we are everything. The Science of Mind teaches the same thing. We have everything. It is all here. It is everything that we desire, everything that we need is here. Not necessarily the desires, because the desires, a lot of the tangible things, we tend to think that what we see, hear, smell, taste, and touch is real, until we remember the truth, that our truth really comes from within. But they supply a seeming lack. And from the Course in Miracles, they are performed by those who temporarily have more for those who temporarily have less. And what that means, basically, by way of example, um, in the practitioners, we, prior to when the new practitioners, they're in training, and when it comes time for them to go into go into the testing that's required, they have a written exam, and then an oral exam. We're there to support them, to share with them what what we've gathered, testing materials, things like that. Temporarily have more for those who temporarily have less. And today they are able to, or will be able to, do the same thing as other practitioners come along. And it's not that the material has always been available; they just didn't have it yet. The ability to become a licensed practitioner has always been there. It's just until we decide that that's a lifestyle that we want to take on, a way of life that we want to take on. We don't have that yet. So it's not that everything isn't already here. It's just that we're not aware of it. Electricity has always existed. You won't find that word anywhere in the Bible. Moses and company didn't know anything about electricity. Oh yeah, they saw lightning. They didn't know what it was. They saw whirlwinds that they called tornadoes and hurricanes, but the words tornado and hurricane are nowhere to be found in the Bible. So they didn't know these things. So until these words became part of our dictionary, for example, until these energies were given names, we didn't have them. They were something quote quote lacking for us. Miracles are healing because they supply this lack. Miracles are performed by those who temporarily have more for those who temporarily have less. And we've learned from the previous miracle principles, that miracles are basically about the love. I believe it's miracle principle number 2 that talks about that it's not about the miracle itself, but its source, and that source, of course, is God, as we whatever we call God. That miracle principle number 2 says that miracles as such do not matter. The only thing that matters is their source, which is beyond, far beyond evaluation. So from Science of Mind, and I didn't note the page here, the power within me is blessing all mankind and is forever healing all with whom I come in contact. The power within me, that's my God self, is blessing all mankind and is forever healing all with whom I come in contact. In the Bible, it says, let your light shine. As I shine my light, you feel the light. There's a member at the Center of Peace. Her name is Tony Bay, and I call her the brightest light. That the text messages she sends out, the emojis, the memes that she finds, they all have light. They're all very brilliant, very bright. And she has this way about her that I just automatically feel lifted when I see her. She's a little bundle of energy. She's 77, I believe, and an amazing woman. But that light that it just shines. It's, no matter how I'm feeling, if I have even a thought of feeling low or down, or thinking about my situations and my circumstances and my what's going on, the stuff, the tangible stuff, I can literally look at Tony and it just changes instantly. Miracles are healing, and that's the love that just radiates from it. It just pours from her. And I'm sure Trisha can attest to that. Tony is just a little bundle of just a little bundle. Anyway, the power within me is blessing all mankind and is forever healing all with whom I come in contact. It's important to remember that we are indeed all energy. What's coming out of me is what's in me. What is coming back to me is what I'm putting out. And we forget that part. We want to think that person out there is just being mean, or that person out there is just not being respectful, or that person out there is just that out there and that out there. It's nothing out there. It's all coming from in here, and it's the way I'm perceiving it. The power within me, Dr. Holmes continues, is God, and it must bless and help and heal all who come near it. It must. The key word here, it must bless all, it must bless and help and heal all who come near it. We can't not heal. We can only heal as long as we are thinking in terms of healing. We can only extend love. We can only share the best of what we are if that is what we intend to receive. Giving and receiving are one. And one of the miracle principles talks about miracles being a kind of exchange. To give is to receive. To receive is to give. Giving and receiving. Giving and receiving. We talk about the importance of realizing that what I'm putting out is what's coming back to me. And if my life isn't the way I want it to be, I need to look at me. The Course says only what we're not giving is what's lacking. If something that I'm not, and it takes some work. It may take some work. It takes a lot of onion peeling, peeling back those layers of onions and crying lots of tears to find out just what's going on. What is it that's preventing me from experiencing the life that I want? Where am I creating an idol? What am I looking at that outside of me that I'm trying to hold on to so tightly that I just can't, and it can't satisfy. I remember when I was a nicotine addict. I used to be a 3-pack a day cigarette smoker, and in the 12-step programs they say one is too many and 1,000 will never be enough. Just couldn't get enough. There was no, I always wanted more of that thing, and never ever satisfied. It couldn't satisfy. Miracles are healing. They supply a lack, or that perceived lack. The cigarette couldn't do it. A relationship with a person of any kind couldn't do it. It can't happen that way. That's not where it is. We have to recognize and seek first the kingdom because that's where the power lies. The power within me, I repeat, Dr. Holmes says, is God, and it must bless and help and heal all who come near it. Silently, the work goes on, and silently, all are being helped by this inner power which is operating through me. Operating through me. I'm going to bring this screen down for a minute. I need to see who all is here, but I can't do that. Oh, Glorian is here. Hi, loved one. Audrey is here. Hi, loved one. Regis is here. Hi, loved one. I didn't know. I had no idea. I'm glad you're here, Glorian. Thank you for being here. Um, okay, so I'm going to look at the next miracle principle, and I'm going to skip today. I'm going to skip because I had to do it the way Spirit gave it to me. Um, and here's miracle principle number 9, which says exactly that miracles are a kind of exchange. Like all expressions of love, which are always miraculous in the true sense, the exchange reverses the physical laws. They bring more love both to the giver and the receiver. Again, being and having is the same. I am you, you are me. There's a song that we play sometimes at the center during the offering, and the title of the song is something like "Who's giving what to who?" Or that's one of the lyrics of the song. Who's giving what to who? If I am giving, I'm also receiving. So the question is, who am I really giving to? I'm never losing anything. I can't lose anything because it's being and having is the same. I can't be less than I am. I can't be less than my source. I can't have then I can't have less because I am all there is. I am the all. I am God in form. What can be less? What can be possibly less than that? So whatever I give, I'm actually always receiving. And the course teaches us that everything is an idea. Everything is an idea. And ideas don't disappear. If I share my idea with you, now it's the idea times two. It's not the idea, it's not gone because I've now shared it with you. Now it's multiplied. And then you share it, and it keeps on growing and growing that way. That applies to everything. Everything is an idea. That's a lesson that I personally need because the things that I look at as these tangible things, I keep thinking I need to hold on to them. I need to hold on to them, and it's not benefiting me in any way. Um, so anyway, so Dr. Holmes teaches in this moment, my good comes to me, enough to spare, to give, and to share. I am never, or rather, I can never be exhausted. My good can never be depleted because that source from which my good comes is inexhaustible. And of course, we're talking about God. We're talking about source. We're talking about that first cause. It's always present, ever present. And we're reminded that our reality is only spirit. I am not this body. I am not this body. I am not this body. And that's a good thing to know right about now in particular, because there's some things going on that, like, all right, what's happening here? What's happening here? And what can I do about it? I'm having a domino effect thing going on. My Medicare was canceled because the Office of Personal Management, who said they were taking the money out to pay Medicare, wasn't doing it. So they canceled my Medicare. Then my primary physician had a critical fall, which required him to close his practice, which then means that I need a new primary physician. But let's start with I have no Medicare at the moment. I'm supposed to. Can't go find a primary physician. I mean, I have the insurance that I had when I was working, but that now has become the secondary insurance, and it's looking for Medicare because I'm of age to do that. So I make an appointment to go see a new primary physician, but that appointment is until the 20th of the month. Meanwhile, my body has started doing some things that are uncomfortable, and I can't call anyone for a prescription. I I know what it is, I know what I need for it. If it is what it was when I had the experience before, and I can't call anybody for a prescription for it because I don't have Medicare. So so I'm doing this, catch 22 type thing. A domino effect. This is affecting that, is affecting that, is affecting that. Um, and what the course reminds me to do is to laugh. It's all working for my good. It's making me, pay attention to some things, to, take care of that paperwork right away, get that thing done. Some things are going on. Likewise, things are happening here in the house with water and pipes and things. And it's hilarious actually when I sit back and think about it, because the same thing that's happening in the house is what's happening with my body. Details not necessary, but there's the things that's actually things are not flowing as they should, and things are showing up where they're not supposed to. This is what's happening in my home and in my body. But one is not different than the other. The first miracle principle is that there is no order of difficulty of miracles. There's no harder than, and not as easy, not as hard, not as easy. There's no order of difficulties. Everything is the same. In God, it's all the same. It's all the same. And my remembrance that my problems are already solved. There really are no problems, just that I have not yet found all the solutions to the stuff because it's already there. Like electricity, it was already there. So the problem is already solved. It's just me looking toward the solution and realizing that in fact there is no problem. And in this moment, back to what Dr. Holmes said, in this moment, my good comes to me enough to spare, to give, and to share. I can never be exhausted. My good can never be depleted, because that source from which my good comes is inexhaustible. And in this regard, back to the miracle principle, all expressions of love, all expressions of love reverse the physical laws. So this good that's coming from me is coming from my source. It's not physical. And realizing that it's never physical. It's never physical. My source is eternal. My source is all power. My source is complete. My source sustains continually. There is no lack. There can be no lack, going back to the previous miracle principle. All right. So that's all I really have to say about miracle principles 8 and 9. If anybody at any point in time wants to raise your hand, you can do a virtual hand raise or an actual hand raise. Let's see. Any hands? Not so far. No. Oh, Carrie came in the room too. Hi, Carrie. Welcome. You are the lighthouse. I gave a message last May at the center, and talked about a lighthouse. And someone came up to me just recently and said that's the one thing that they remembered, that they are the lighthouse. Yeah, we are that light. We are that light. All right. I'm doing all the talking. Don't want it to be so, but it is so, and so it is. I'm going to share my screen again. The miracle principle that I want to talk about is miracle principle number 12, because it's one of my favorites. And yes, I'm skipping over miracle principle 10 and 11 today because Spirit said nothing. Spirit said nothing. And I'm not going to fake it. So, but I do want to talk about miracle principle number 12, because miracle principle number 12 says that miracles are thoughts. Miracles are thoughts. And when we talk about the science of mind, when we talk about the mental sciences, when we talk about study, when we talk about that this is a course in mind, that the Course in Miracles is a course in mind training. we're talking about thoughts. Miracles are thoughts. Thoughts can represent the lower or bodily level of experience, or the higher or spiritual level of experience. One makes the physical, and that would be the lower or bodily level of experience, makes the physical, and the other creates the spiritual. And important words here are make versus creates. And I say versus because what is made is temporary and what is created is eternal. Miracles that represent the lower or bodily level of experience are the thoughts that we make. And the course teaches us that all thoughts produce form at some level. All thoughts produce form at some level. And in the science of mind, we call that manifestation. And it's interesting, I hear people talk about, this word manifestation suddenly is getting a bad rap. It's getting a bad rap, a bad reputation because, well, what do you mean you're manifesting something? It's already here. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I've told the story and I'll tell it briefly. When in 2015, when I was graduating from University of Phoenix, I was having a meltdown of a day. Oh my God, a meltdown of a day. Two of my two dearest people at the time in my life, my friends Ron and Don, had made their transitions less than 90 days apart. I was good for literally nothing. I was having feelings of loneliness. They were supposed to be here for my graduation. They were my cheering squad while I was studying and going through this. So I was looking for them to be there. My mother had passed in 2008, so mommy wasn't going to be there, and Ronnie wasn't going to be there, and Don wasn't going to be there. And all I could focus on was what wasn't happening in my life, what wasn't in my life. I was having that moment of no appreciation for what was in my life. It was horrible. Anyway, so one day I'm standing in the middle of the floor, my living room floor. I was looking at that spot now, and I remember just crying, 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 and I just started, and I cried, "Mommy, help me! Mommy, help me!" And it wasn't that gentle either. It was, my neighbors may have heard it. I was really having a tremendous moment, and this was about a Wednesday or a Thursday. The following Monday, short version of the story, a letter arrived addressed to my mother. Now, my mother passed in 2008. This was now 2015. 2015. It was from the mortgage company that sold her house back in 2003. I'll say that again. The house was sold in 2003. Mommy passed in 2008. This is now 2015. It's just days after I cry out, "Mommy, help me." Now, you can interpret this any way you want to. I'm not going to interpret it. I'm just telling the story. The short, to finish that there was the escrow check from when the house was sold. They still had it, and it came the gift that I received. I received a letter dated May 20th, which was my father's birthday, and in that envelope was the check for the escrow. Now, did I manifest the escrow check? The escrow check had been sitting in their office, in their wherever, since 2003. I just called it into existence. What is the passage in the Bible that says calling things that are not as if they are? Something to that effect. We're talking about seeing it as being done. Now, I didn't realize, the thought of money was not what came to me. All I asked was for help, and what it did for me, it wasn't even about the money, not at all about the money. That for me was absolute showing me that the energy doesn't die. The energy doesn't die. Mommy's gone from my sight. That's all. That's all. That means, and it means a lot to me. I get to share that story with people who are able to see things differently. And it's really all about seeing things differently. When we're not feeling, we're taught thinking and feeling and thinking and feeling and thinking. What we think, um, what we think comes first, and then what we feel comes afterwards. And if it's not feeling right to us, then we need to um be willing to look at it differently. I see your hand, Trisha. Go ahead.
I'll let people see my smiling face too. Hi. So two things. I've been listening to recently some YouTube videos on quantum mechanics, and what you were just saying about getting the information about a check being there for you after you asked your mom for help. It makes me think of what they're trying to do with or take quantum mechanics. I don't know if you guys know anything about it, but it's basically we don't know. They're saying we don't know. Like things don't become real until we choose them, basically. So it's I don't know if you've heard of I think it's Schrodinger's cat or something like that. And there's a cat in a box. You don't know if the cat is alive or dead until you open the box. It's that type of thing. So that check didn't exist to you until you called it, like you said. And that's where how they're using quantum mechanics in New Thought religion. They're just saying that you have to call it into existence, basically. And then the other thing, the thing that you were just sharing on the screen, if you could put that back. Yeah, so I listen a lot to Alan Watts, not as much as I used to, but one thing that stuck with me was this story that he would tell about your ego, basically. So imagine you're in a house and it's a flood and your first floor gets flooded. So you move to the second floor gets flooded, you move to the roof. So you're just moving away from what's, I guess, not good for you. But in terms of the ego, he made this analogy that, your ego on a ground level, you're very, aware of your ego, and you don't want to experience it. So you move to a higher level of yourself and move to your next highest level. But it's still, what stuck with me was it's still the ego. It's still your ego. It's just moving up and kind of outsmarting you, being more, appearing to be more spiritual or something, but it's still your ego. So for me in Science of Mind, how I try to deal with that is, how do I feel? I say, well, how am I feeling right now? Because if I'm feeling a lot of anger, anxiety, whatever, then I'm still in ego. But if I'm feeling good and kind of connected and, harmonious, then maybe not so much ego. So for the Course in Miracles, how would you address that?
Well, I'm glad you used the word seems to be. That's always a big one with us. Thank you so much for that. There is a single sentence in the Course that says that what you believe is what's true for you. In the Course, simple as that. What you believe is what's true for you, which is why in the Course we teach that there is no world. And what does that mean? There's no world. Well, you can talk about your world, Trisha. I can talk about my world, and they're different. Now, there are places where your world and my world meet in this room right now, where, our worlds are meeting. But in essence, there is no world, because since there is no no order of difficulty. It's all the same in God. It's all the same. So if it's not true for you and true for me and true for everyone at the same time, then it's not true at all. It really isn't true at all. And I mean, and when we talk about truth, that's truth with a capital T. We're talking about what's eternal, what's permanent, what is the same. We all have to breathe to live, no doubt about that. Every one of us, I'm talking about it in form, we all have to breathe to live. They have shown that they can take the brain out of a body and it can still function. So we're not talking about the brain. The brain is not real. In the sense of the breath is the one thing, and the breath, that word spirit, the word spirit, we hear in the word respiration, the S-P-I-R, inspiration, the S-P-I-R, that sort of thing. That is the life source. That source, we're back to source. It always comes back to source. If it's not, and even me saying that I said, Mommy, help me. Did Mommy help me? Did she help you? You know what I mean? So it wasn't, it was still back at source level, but everything is presented to us in ways that we can understand it. In December 1989, no, yeah. In December 1980, yes. In April 1991, the day before I went in the hospital, had lost the ability to breathe and all that stuff, I was hearing and seeing this woman named Brenda, who used to be a coworker of ours, and she kept yelling at me to wake up, wake up, wake up, and it was scaring me. And every time she would yell at me, I would, it's because she was scaring me. I would physically wake up, and it turned out that was what was keeping me alive, because I was losing the ability to breathe, and that was in April of 91. Brenda had passed in December of 89. Now, you don't know Brenda. So was it Brenda? Was it my mother? None of these, you know what I mean? So we're given what we can recognize, because this is what we have made true for us. It's our own truth, but it's not a truth with a capital T. It's not the truth with a capital T. What's true is true across the board. Are we all given experience? Have we all had experiences? We have someone in the room who's had a near-death experience, and an amazing story, that goes with, and how her life has changed as a result of it. I had an experience. It wasn't as dramatic as some that I've heard, and I won't say that it changed my entire life, but it definitely gave me a different perspective on things. I was able to see what we call revelation, and the course is called revelation, where we have those aha moments, and for some of us, we stick with it. We don't let that aha go. We don't let that aha go. It's in the 12-step program, they call it keeping it green. You just don't let it go. But the fact is that what is true for me, I might say, I see life from a 5-foot perspective, 5-foot tall perspective. You don't, Trisha. You don't. But this is real for me. This is real. And I put in quotation marks. This is what's real for me. And I'll say, well, yeah, life doesn't go higher than this. And you'll say, no, well, it's high. Oh, there's nothing up there. You know what I mean? So it's real. It really is what we call true for us. True for us. It obviously, it couldn't have been my mother, because Mommy didn't go, Mommy didn't, you know what I mean? Mommy didn't make a phone call to the mortgage company. Her body had already made the transition in 2008. Obviously, it wasn't Brenda, who was telling me to wake up, because Brenda had already made her transition in 1989, 2 years prior. So it's really what has worked for me, for my life, to bring me to this place right here, to be able to tell this story, to be able to say, nothing dies. That I can say. Nothing dies. It doesn't, that word, who came up with the word death in the first place? How did that, where did that word come from? That we were taught to think that things die. that they go away and they never come back. In form, perhaps, but where's it going to go? We say there's no such thing as God, and where's it going? Hi, Lindy, welcome. Where's it going? It's still here. It's still here. And because we are energy, you science person that you are, because we're all energy, that energy keeps on going. So what that the body has ceased. The energy that life is continues. That's the one thing where science and all these spiritual teachings have come to meet. They meet now. And it's clear. So I can say God, and I can say energy, and I can say spirit, and I can say energy, and I can say life, and I can say energy, and I can say source, and I can say energy. And that's not refuted anymore. It's not refuted. I can't go to some people and say spirit, and I can't go to some people and say energy. For some people, I have to use the word God. You know what I mean? But it's does the spirit care? Does it care? Does it really care? I'm not, God was not created in my image. I was created in God's image. So I can call it what I want to. I mean, I've gone in the 12-step program where I've heard them say, you can call it doorknob. If it gives you that sense of realizing that you're not alone, that's really what it comes down to. That we're just not alone. I get answers regardless of what name I call. I hope that answered your question. I don't know if it did or not. And if not, feel free to raise your hand again. Glorian, go ahead. Hi.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Zulma. Thanks for this wonderful discussion today. As you were speaking, it was coming to me. The more we move into that state of grace, that mindful awareness of presence now, that's the same mindful awareness of presence that's there when you're transitioning. At least for me, that was my experience. So that's the goal, to move into that place and recognize that everything is in that eternal, everlasting now. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. And that's the one thing that we can all say it is. It is. I keep referencing Joel Goldsmith's book where he in Living the Science, rather Living the Infinite Way, where he says we can call God anything we want to. We can say God is love. We can say God is peace. We can say God is this. God is that. And you're going to get people who are going to argue that. They're going to debate that. Those who accept that there is something that we call God can simply say God is. And leave it at that. It is. And we say in religious science, I am what God is. There is only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. Now, back to what Gloria said, now. Yeah, Gloria, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for that, Zulma. So important that once we recognize that as soon as we put a label on God, a concept on God, then that's not what God is. It's an experience. And we achieve that experience through the holy instant, in that surrender of thought and opening to the reality that's always present.
Thank you for that. The holy instant. Trisha, that's a ACIM term. The holy instant can be any instant. It's that instant when we get that recognition, that realization, that I'm one with it. I am one with it. And all is one with it. Recommending, if anybody has not seen the movie Collateral Beauty, to see the movie Collateral Beauty. Lynn said that we can do a workshop here. We can do it. We can actually do a group watch if we want to. I found it to be phenomenal. I own the movie, so I'd be more than happy to figure out how to do that. It's a phenomenal movie, and we're at some point you realize that we really are, at least in the movie, that it talks about the oneness. I found it to be a great movie. But that whole thing, that it really is all one. How could it not be one? If the source is the same, I call it having the same spiritual DNA. If the source is the same, then how could it be different? I understand, if no two blades of grass are the same, we're talking about the individualization of things. We're supposed to have unique experiences that we bring together. It's like you have the coffee and I have the cream, or you know what I mean? And together we have coffee with cream together. We all have everything. And the problem with this little thing, look. He has to, he has to make his presence known. The problem is that we want to compare what we have or what we are to someone else, or we want to think ourselves more than or less than, and that person can do this, but I can't. Well, what you can do is what's yours to do. What's yours to do is to share that with me, so I can handle this part of it and you can handle that part of it. We are all given our own unique expressions, our own unique way of expressing God. And it's and being willing to do that is our way of saying thank you. Thank you. Only appreciation is an appropriate response to everything. Gratitude is due for everything, because the Course teaches us, what could you not accept if you but knew that everything, past, present, and to come, is gently planned by one whose only desire is your good. You're good. And even when it doesn't feel good, it's still for our highest and best, is how we say in religious science. It's always for our highest and best. Everything. Workbook lesson number 24 in the Course says, I don't perceive my own best interest. And we learn there that everything is for our best. Everything is for our best interest. Everything. I didn't know when back in 1991, when I was, couldn't breathe and in the hospital, the doctor said to me, Miss Gonzalez, you don't have to stay here. But if you go home, you are going to die. That's what he said to me. I had asked to go to the hospital. I actually, kind of choked my way through asking to go to the hospital. I knew it. I felt it. I knew it. But I didn't know that event was going to serve me today to be able to share with whomever that would get an understanding of the connection, that it's not about the body. It's not about the body. And by the way, if you were to have an experience like that, you wouldn't see Brenda or my mother. You're going to see somebody from quote your world. That's just the way it's going to be. That's just the way it is. I see Lindy keeps thumbs up, and yeah, because we all have our own way of seeing things, which is back to your original question, Tricia. What we see is what's true for us. This computer, and I've said, this computer means a lot to me. This particular computer doesn't mean anything to you, except that I use this computer as a way for all of us to be in this room right now. This room means a lot to us in this moment. But before we knew about it, there was nothing. And the Course teaches, nothing I see means anything. Nothing I see means anything. The second lesson says that I have given everything I see all the meaning that it has for me. Back to your question, Tricia. What is true for what I decide what's true for me. And I have to, and this is where I get to sift between the this and the that, because if I'm finding that what I think is true for me isn't feeling good, this isn't feeling good, this is what I was taught. Yeah, my mama taught me, and my daddy taught me, and my grandmama taught me, and then the teachers taught me, and then my peers taught me this, that, and the other, and it's not feeling good. I love that the Course tells me, resign as your own teacher. You have not taught yourself well. If what you're feeling is not making, you're not feeling good, to resign as your own teacher. Be willing to see it differently. Above all else, I am willing to see it differently, because I don't want the pain. I don't deserve this pain. That's not my birthright. But pain is not my birthright. Lovable, what are you doing, boy? What? He's like, he has to make his grand appearance. He has to let you know he's here. But yeah, pain, it's not my it's not my birthright, little boy. Yeah, pain is not my birthright. That's not taught anywhere in the spiritual teachings. That's not, we call it pain. We choose to see it as an experience that we shouldn't have. And there's where the mistake comes in. My new expression, guys, stay out of the should house. Stay out of the should house. You're hanging out in the should house. Stay out of it. It should be this way. That shouldn't happen. That shouldn't be this way. That's what causes pain. That's wish world. That's when we're in fantasy land. We're trying to make a story up of something that we think should be the way we think it should be. So now we want to tell the source how it should be. No, my goal is to learn to accept, trust first. We just heard that. Trust first and then accept. Yeah, Trisha.
Yeah, from Science of Mind, what comes to me is freedom from all discord. So yeah, we don't have to be in pain. We have a divine right to be free from all discord.
Yes.
So yeah, that's all.
Yes. And that is, if you all recall, one of the declarations from Dr. Holmes. He says, I believe the ultimate goal of life, to be a complete emancipation from all discord of every nature. And I mean, think about it. It's one of our goals. Who wants to be in pain? Who intentionally wants to be in pain? Now, we know that there are people who have been in pain. Their lives have been, they're accustomed to being in pain, and it's, quote, all they know. And we know that that's, because what they're putting out is what's coming, what's coming from the inside is what's showing up on the outside. But ultimately, some of them become clients. I had a young lady tell me the other day that, wow, she was talking about, how I don't trust, certain people. And I said, and I asked her, does that feel good to you? She paused and then she said, yes. Because it's been her habit to not trust because her mother said, aha, and there it was. Her mother said, and yet one of the goals that she said that she wanted for our sessions when we first started was to think for herself. Because a lot of what she thinks is based on what she was taught. Lindy, I saw your hand. Did I see your hand? Thumbs up is a thumbs up.
I'm sorry. I was trying to do thumbs up. I like that saying you said, she wants to think for herself. Because we have these thoughts, or they create in us our personalities that comes from those who raise us and our family members who are around us. And as we live and have our being, we develop our personalities by these words being spoken to us. So I was just trying to throw up a thumb on that one.
Thank you for that. I'm going to go back to that word, create versus make. This is a good example of that, because here's the fact. Our self-esteem, what we call self-esteem, and the course talks about that, it's like, why am I focusing with self-esteem based on what I see, hear, smell, taste, and touch, on what I look at when I see in the mirror, that sort of thing. But this sense of self-worth that we think we have didn't start with self. It came from, your mama, your daddy, or the caregivers, or whoever they were, the teachers, whoever they were, even our peers, who told you were this or you weren't that. There's the one who thinks, you think you're cute, so now you start perceiving yourself as ugly, or the one you were told that you were ugly, whatever. or you were affirmed, you were constantly, encouraged and encouraged. And then here comes a situation where somebody tells you no, and you don't know how to act. You just lose your natural mind. And, you want to go blow up things and climb up, buildings and things of that nature. Did I say that out loud? I didn't mean to. But, our esteem did not start with us. Our self-esteem didn't start with us. We were taught how to think. We were told what to feel. We were, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. Why can't you be like this sort of thing? This was taught to us. And then we learned to compare ourselves to others. And I like the way Dr. Winston Collins says it in his book, that we had took this misinformation and made it our truth. I took the misinformation that was given me and accepted it as true. So, when mommy had me, and this is, part of her life story. When she had me, she was sick. Mommy was, she had me, and I was already at least half a day old before she was able to. Well, in fact, she woke up saying that she was ready to have the baby, and found out that I had already been born. And, and I'm going, oh, yeah, looks laughing. And rather than me, laugh at this story and all that, I went into, you didn't even realize that, I went into a form of separation anxiety. You didn't even care about me stupid. I created this, I put myself in this situation to think that it was her job, that she was supposed to have me and be excited because I was born in this, that, and the other. Shooting, putting the SHOULD on my mom. And fast forward to different things that later she told me that I didn't like, shooting on my mom. Why did you tell me that? You should have told me that. And I didn't have to know that. And we do so much to harm ourselves. Miracles are thoughts. So back to the making versus creating. They did not create that in us. Creation came from our source, because what's created can't be changed. Can't be changed. Fortunately, as the Course says, resign as your own teacher. Stop that. If it hurts, stop that. The Course, what for? What purpose is it serving? What purpose does it serve to hurt yourself? Does it feel good? No. We think it's insane. If somebody came at me, telling me that I'm this and I'm that, not the other, I'm ready to lay them out. Oh, you know what? You get away from me. I want nothing to do with you. Why do we accept it from ourselves? Why do we do that? Why do we think that we're not worthy? The Course says the habit of engaging with God and its creations is easy if you actively refuse to not let your mind slip away. God, God, God. I am. God is. God is. I am. God is. I am. God is. I am. Rather than, oh, no, at this moment, I am angry because Zulma said that all of a sudden, I've become the God. I've become the God. All of a sudden, all those wonderful prayers and meditations and whatever else, that you started your day with, out the window, because Zulma said, because Workbook Lesson 2 says that we give things all the meaning that it has for us. Back to that my world, your world thing. There is no world. There's no world. There's the belief that I'm separate from you because I have a body and you have a body. But the truth is our source is the same. And in a physical example, I always use blood type. I have, anybody need my blood? You're not going to look like me if I give you my blood. It's not going to happen. But the universe is, but the source has created things so that we all actually require each other. We need each other. There's a song titled, I Need You to Survive. I need you to survive. I can't do it all for myself. I can't. We're each other's saviors. We're here to bring each other home. Your coffee, my cream. Sugar. My sugar. You'll take cream. Okay. You have the coffee. I have the sugar. Together, we have what we need. We forget that. We forget that. We forget, and we forget that, and we forget that we're forgetting. We forget to remember. Miracles are thoughts. I'm going to go back to that workbook lesson. To that miracle principle. Miracles are thoughts. And what I was thinking about, what I was looking at, that's not what I meant to share. That was from the Declaration of Beliefs. Let's go all the way down here. Too far down. Not far enough. Back to thoughts. That miracles are thoughts. And what I wanted to read from a little bit is from the Science of Mind textbook, chapter 8. Just a little bit, because a couple things came to mind, but just a little bit. Chapter 8 is the power of thought. I'll put it on the screen and make that easier. Let me stop share of that and open up this. Chapter 8. I'm going to share the screen again. In chapter 8 of the Science of Mind, there are different sections. The first being spiritual mind healing, the basis, which is spiritual mind healing. And what spiritual mind healing basically is affirmative prayer. It's affirmative prayer. It's being able to look at what we think is, looking at what we see, hear, smell, taste, and touch, and being able to come to the place where we can change our mind about that thing. We're taught that thoughts are things. Thoughts are things. This is written. It's funny how I can't see the whole. That's interesting how I'm seeing this. But anyway. I'm going to read just a little bit and see where this goes. Starting from spiritual mind healing. It has taken humanity thousands of years to learn that it has the power to control its own destiny. From the Bible, we have the assurance, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. The Greek philosophers understood something of the meaning of thought. What we expect, said Aristotle, that we find. And Tricia, there it is. And the course says what we see, I'm making my own world. I'm making my own world. What I believe is what's true for me. That's how the course says it. Same thing. What we wish, said I can't pronounce that. Demosthenes. What we wish, that we believe. And Shakespeare is accredited with the saying, there is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. It is one thing to know the principle, another to apply it. And in the introductory section, an introduction of the Science of Mind text, Dr. Ernest writes, one of the great difficulties in the new order of thought is that we are likely to indulge in too much theory and too little practice. Too much theory and too little practice. And that would be me telling you all this stuff, just doing all this book knowledge, telling you all this stuff, and there's no evidence of it in my life. Or me trying to tell you that you should be studying this or that. And what I love about both Dr. Ernest says to stay open at the top. I love that. Stay open at the top. and the Course says there is no universal theology. It can't happen that way. It just can't. There, because we all are going to see it. We all see things differently. And ultimately the goal is to find that space, that place that we can all see alike, because we all come from the same source and we all come from that same divine mind. So we all have, and then the Course calls it the sonship. In fact, religious science calls it the sonship too. Science of mind calls it the sonship. The Course calls it the sonship. We are all one in God, in source, in truth with a capital T. I'm reading again. The modern commercial world accepts the slogan, "He who thinks he can." Throughout the ages, many persons have realized that causation is from within. True, the thousands of unhappy beings would indicate that a comparatively small number have used this knowledge for their benefit. Yet the day for incredulous skepticism or shallow criticism of the power of thought has passed. Unless we discredit all human testimony, we are forced to the conclusion that bodily healing of all manner of sickness and mental of all manner of sickness by mental and spiritual means is a fact. Physicians of highest repute are assiduously betaking themselves to the serious study of mental phenomena and mental processes. They are realizing the incredible possibilities of dominion resident in the dynamic forces of the mental realm, which basically means my body's not in charge. We know that we choose when to leave the body. It's a choice. It's a choice. And if you can look back on situations where people have made their transition, if you had a close relationship with them, you can actually see where they were making these choices. A lot of times we're going to denial. We don't want them to make these choices. We're saying, no, that's not it. Nope. Nope. But if we look at it, we can actually see it. And it'll help, for me anyway, help brings peace. Helps bring peace. 4 days before I took my mother to the hospital, she said, we were going for a walk and she stopped. She just stopped walking. And she was staring out into space. And I said, what's the matter, Mommy? She looked at me. She said, I wish God would take me. That's all she said. I said, you want to leave me? Because, I had to make it about me. You want to leave me? And she didn't answer me. She was just, that was 4 days before she went to the hospital. 2 days before she went to the hospital, she woke up asking where was she going and where were they taking her? Like she was out of her. She was disconnecting. So for me to try to want her back and wish it hadn't happened and all that, no. I was being given. She was letting me know. She was letting me know. She was beyond. It was beyond this world, beyond this physical existence. But no, I wanted my mommy. But you get to the place where you realize you have to let go, and if you want to stay in pain, try holding on to what's already gone, and only gone from our sight, by the way. But if you want to stay in pain, try holding on to what's already gone. Try putting deciding that you're going to discard some stuff or put it in the trash can, and then the sanitation people are going to come and take it away, and then you want to get all upset because it's gone. You can't hold on to what's already gone. You can't hold on to what's already gone. So acceptance is key here. So positions, where was I? They are realizing the incredible possibilities of dominion resident in the dynamic forces of the mental realm. A belief in and an acceptance of mental healing has arrived in the most orthodox of medical circles and is being increasingly approved as a legitimate and useful healing agent. And we know just from what we know about from Christian Science, people who have experienced healing. In fact, Joe Goldsmith was one of them. I just learned this, and I'm like, wow. Yeah, Lindy, I see your hand. Go ahead.
You provoked my thought process here, Zuma, with this story about your mother, we make our own choices when we want to leave here. You really provoked a thought in my mind. And I guess I have a sort of a question, maybe. You said that your mother said she's ready to go. And then you were going to make it about you going to leave me. I thought that was the cutest thing, but because we allow people to be, we recognize when we making those things about us. But here's the question I think I want to ask. We make the choice to leave here. You saying that because your mother said that? Your mother said, I'm ready. I wish God would take me. That I guess that's my question. You're saying that we make our own choice when we're ready to leave. And are you basing that on, or are you saying that because of what your mother said? I wish God would take me out of here.
I used to, I would love to say that, but in the course, it does say that we make a choice. We choose when to leave. We are continually making choices. We are not this body. Hi, Melissa, welcome. We are not this body. We are not this body. We're always making choices. We are continually making choices. And you hear about people who have these near-death experiences, and they say, I wish I could go ahead to that light. I wish I could keep on going. But the truth is, that moment, the wish, and they said, well, no, you're not finished yet. They get more to the experience where they're, it seems like they're being sent back. That's a choice too. And I would love if Glorian would speak to that, because today this woman, Glorian, is a phenomenal teacher based on her understanding that she's not the body, that spirit, that's as the song goes, let's the spirit run her life. No, we are making choices. No, not because mommy said it. I mean, I was already a student of A Course in Miracles, and I had I'm sure I had read that statement that we choose when to leave. And I wish somebody can help me with this, help me find that exactly where that is, because no one, let me see, no one can die unless, I think that's right. Yeah, here it is. It's in chapter 19. In chapter 19, the third obstacle, the attraction of death, there's one sentence that says, no one can die unless he chooses death. You have to choose it. And death is not, we're not talking about, because when there's no physical, there is no death. In truth, there is no death. But we see it as we see it. So for mommy, who was, raised Catholic, and that's the way she, her understanding of it, wishing God would take her, because I know God's already got me. I know that. But based on the way she understood it, the way she recognized being here or not being here, she said, I wish God would take me. It was just out the clear blue, seemed to have made a statement. Found out later when she went to the hospital on Friday, because that was Monday, and then Wednesday, Friday, when she went to the hospital, they told me she had a heart attack. And when? Don't know. So evidently, and if I, as I try to, recall stories, 2 days before she said she wished God would take her, mommy was untying her shoe. I remember it was Saturday evening, and she was untying her shoe, and she winced. And I said, what's the matter? She said, my shoulder hurts. And because my mother had osteoarthritis, I started rubbing her shoulder. I don't remember, was the right shoulder, left shoulder? Doesn't matter, because they don't even know which side anymore. With women, you never know. But I started rubbing her shoulder, and then she said she felt better, and I stopped. So, and then 2 days later, I wish God would take me. 2 days after that, where am I going and where are they taking me? I mean, and it was quite a while before she reconnected to her body. She went completely through the house, came downstairs, put her hand on the table, says, "Oh yeah, 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 this is where I eat." It's like she kind of came to herself. And then 2 days later, 2 days after that, you know, she woke up, everything seemed normal, but her breathing was shallow, she was sweating, and she said she was nauseous. Took her to the hospital, and the next thing I know, it was one thing after another. She was being transferred to another hospital. And even then, she had surgery 3 days later, and she held it. She still held on. She wasn't ready yet. She wasn't ready yet because it had the way it had to happen based on the relationship that mommy and I had established. Linda, you don't know my story. But based on the relationship that she and I had established, it had to be my choice for her to go. So I had to sign papers to let mommy go. Because otherwise I would have felt like it was abandonment, because which had been my story all along. Remember, that's how I started as a baby. Anyway, and I'll share the whole story at another time. I'll put my information in the chat if you'd like. We could talk about it. Glorian, yes, go ahead. Well, Linda, your hand is still up, or was your hand still up, or is because as I'm seeing Lindy's hand is up, and then I see Glorian's hand in that order. Okay, Glorian, go ahead, please.
Okay, well, I just wanted to say, my saying, you see it, you own it. So you're a wonderful teacher, Zulman. Thank you so much for all that you share. As far as the NDE, I can only speak about my own experience, but it was certainly a choice that I made to seemingly remain here, because ultimately we know that there's only oneness, that's all there really is. Way before that, the course teaches I'm not a body, I'm free, I'm as God created me. And I really did accept that before this experience, after, many, many years of studying and sharing the course. But after the NDE, it moved me into a greater experience of that I'm not a body. And of course, with Joel's work that we're doing now with practicing the presence, that was, fundamental in my teaching from the very beginning, that we are this omnipresent spirit of God. So, that's the whole thing. The recognition that is what I truly am, spirit in a state of grace forever, that nothing has any effect on. And everyone just goes deeper and deeper into that realization as we do the workbook lessons, as we do the science of mind, as we do the infinite way, and as we really on our own move into that stillness, the quiet answer, where we tabernacle with Christ. That's where the real healing and inspiration and experience, you become the embodiment of the word. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a choice. We're constantly making choices. Remember that we are an idea in the mind of God. And I may be quoting Ernest Holmes with that. We are an idea in the mind of God. And I'm sure the Course says that somehow too. We are an idea in the mind of God. And ideas don't leave their source, ever. And we've been given the gift of choice. So yes, we choose to live, we choose to stay in the body, we choose not to stay in the body. It's a choice. And if you go through, I'm serious, if you start looking at, if you can remember situations of people that have made their transition, you'll be able to see, and not just physical illness, not just physical illness. I know of a young man who he and his aunt were having a conversation. They were sitting at the kitchen table, and he was telling her, Auntie, you remember when and talking about something that had happened, so many years ago. He was a young man in his 30s, remember when we did this such and such and such, and she's like, what made you bring that up? I don't know, Auntie, it just kind of came to me. And you hear about people who have this quiet before the storm thing, start acting in ways they may eat, want to eat something that they haven't had in forever. And the next thing you know, they made their physical transition. They were preparing. They were doing this preparation. And it doesn't have to be a sickness. It could be, and because in the case of that young man, it was a car accident. He made his transition based from a car accident. But the choices are already being made. Consciously or unconsciously, we are making the choice. And when we get to look back on it, so yeah, I have mommy's experience, the experience with my mother, talk about, like I have this woman who said to me, wake up, wasn't ready to go. Wasn't ready. I wanted to breathe. I still had so much I wanted to do. I had to, just to be able to be in this room today. I had choices. I had a choice. I had a choice to stop using nicotine. I had a choice to keep on. We're always making our choice. We are choosing to stay in this physical presence, in this physical situation, or not. And even things like a simple thing like me, one morning decided I didn't want to go to work. I was, in a prayer group, and I said, "Oh man, I sure wish I could be like the rest of you and not go to work." The next thing I knew, I tripped off the top step and remember that story, Melissa? Yeah, and I tore the quadricep in my leg. Didn't go to work. Well, listen, didn't say, "Oh, I sure wish I could tear my quadricep." Oh, was not it. But I made a choice. I really didn't want to go to that day. I didn't, or for the next few. But it's just the way we don't. If we start to look at the thoughts that we're really thinking, it's so back there. We don't even see it. But it's always for our good. Had a woman tell me yesterday that she had a fall at work, nothing serious, but they made her go to urgent care. She's been home for the last 2 weeks, and she's now thinking about retirement. Well, she's 72 years old, and she's able to, and she's, in a good financial position. But prior to that, she had been in the grind and the grind and the grind, and now she's decided, being home for these 2 weeks that she's been home. It's like, wow, this feels pretty cool. And she called me yesterday. So tell me, what do I need to know about retirement? She's not one of my coworkers. But she's starting to think about, we never know what anything is for, but everything is important. Everything is for our good. It's always coming from our source, and we need to take time on a conscious level to engage. I repeat that piece from the course. The habit of engaging with God and his creations is easy if we actively refuse to let our mind slip away. The problem is, as the course says, that we don't think that we're worth it or that anybody else is worth it too. The thoughts that we choose, the thoughts, it's always about the thoughts that we choose to think. I am 2 minutes from 11 o'clock. I just realized that. So I'm not going to get to read anymore. But it's really key. Miracles are thoughts. I'll go back to that. And we'll leave it here. Miracles are thoughts. Miracles are thoughts. Thoughts can represent the lower or bodily level of experience or the higher or spiritual level of experience. One makes the physical and the other creates the spiritual. Now remember, we can't be separate from God. Regardless of how much we think we can't be separate from God. So every thought we think, and I just came across a sentence that said that God orders all of our thoughts. So the decision to stay, the decision to go, the decision to be here, the decision for people to come and hang out, it's all our thoughts. And that includes the decision to stay in the physical life or not to. So that's what I've got. Anybody else want to share? Nope, it's 11 o'clock. Never mind. Time to go. Lynn, thank you. I'll see you all on Monday. We'll be back at 10 a.m. For just an hour a month. Thanks, Lindy. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Zulma. Love you.
Thanks, Zulma.
Thank you all for being here. I appreciate that. And Lynn?